Hello, Libra. Before we talk about the week ahead, let me ask you something. Have you noticed this quiet tension lately? Not chaos, not drama, just that strange feeling, like something important is lining up behind the scenes. You've been sleeping differently, thinking differently, and maybe for the first time in a while, you're not rushing to explain yourself to anyone. As your friend, I see it. You're not pulling away, you're standing differently. This isn't about choosing between two paths. It's about choosing where you finally stand when the moment asks you who you are now. And here's the part that matters. What's forming around you right now doesn't respond to noise. It responds to clarity. If this resonates, take a breath with me. Leave a comment, even a single word, and trust what you already feel. Because this week, Libra, something quiet is moving into place. And what comes next may ask more honesty than you've ever given yourself. Let's step into it, together. And as we slow down together, I want you to notice something simple. Not outside of you, inside. There are moments in life where nothing has officially changed, yet you feel it anyway. Like the air in the room is different. Like your body knows before your mind can explain it. That's where you are right now, Libra. Nothing has exploded. Nothing has collapsed. No dramatic scene, no urgent alarm. And yet, something feels slightly off-center, in a quiet way. You might catch it late at night, when your thoughts wander a little deeper than usual, when sleep doesn't come the same way it used to. Not worse, just different. As your friend, I don't hear panic in your energy. I hear awareness. You're noticing patterns you used to ignore. You're pausing before answering questions you once rushed to respond to. And that pause matters more than you think. Because here's the truth most people miss. Real turning points rarely announce themselves. They don't shout. They don't rush. They arrive like a subtle shift in gravity. You're not confused. You're recalibrating. And that can feel uncomfortable for a Libra heart. You're wired to create balance, to keep things smooth, to sense what everyone else needs. But lately, something else has been whispering underneath all of that. A quieter question, one that doesn't demand an answer right away. What actually feels aligned now? Not what looks fair on the surface, not what keeps the peace, but what feels honest when no one is watching. This phase can feel strange because there's no proof yet, no confirmation, no clear sign that says, yes, you're on the right track, just sensation, just intuition, just that inner nudge you can't quite shake. And I know that's hard for someone who values clarity. But here's an insight I want to share with you, gently. This kind of awareness usually shows up right before life reorganizes itself around you. Not because you force it, but because you stop standing where you've outgrown. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't missed your moment. You're simply standing at the edge of a shift that hasn't fully taken form yet. Let me ask you something, softly. If you didn't have to explain yourself to anyone, what would you stop tolerating right now? Sit with that. You don't need to answer out loud. You don't even need to be sure. Just notice what comes up. Because this quiet awareness you're carrying isn't random. It's not anxiety. It's not restlessness. It's preparation. And as we move forward, we're going to explore what happens when that inner knowing starts asking for something deeper than comfort. Something more rooted than habit. Take a breath with me. We're just beginning to see what's really taking shape. And staying right there with that awareness, there's something else I want to say to you. Because lately, you're not just noticing the shift, you're responding to it. Not out loud, not dramatically, but in the quiet ways that actually matter. I can feel it in how you pause now, how you don't rush to smooth things over the way you used to, how you don't automatically carry the emotional weight of the room. And I want you to know this. That change didn't come from anger. It came from clarity. You didn't wake up one morning deciding to be different. You simply reached a point where continuing as the old version of you felt heavier than staying true to yourself. As your friend, I see how subtle this has been. You're still kind, still thoughtful, still deeply aware of other people's feelings, but you're no longer bending yourself into shapes that leave you hollow afterward. That's not rebellion. That's self-respect settling into your bones. Libra, you've always had the gift of harmony. But harmony doesn't mean silence, and balance doesn't mean self-abandonment. The version of you that's emerging now understands that. You're not saying yes just to keep the peace. You're not nodding along just to avoid tension. And interestingly, you're not explaining yourself as much either. That quiet boundary you've been holding is louder than any argument you could have made. Here's something most people don't realize. The world doesn't respond to words nearly as much as it responds to consistency. And lately, you've been consistent in a new way. Your energy says, "This is where I stand now. Take it or leave it. No threats, no ultimatums, just presence." And that's why this moment matters. This is where the real turning point begins. Not when something happens to you, but when you stop negotiating your worth internally. It might feel strange at times, because part of you still wonders if you're being too firm, too distant, too much. Let me ask you something, gently. When was the last time you chose yourself and didn't immediately feel the need to apologize for it? Sit with that. Because the silence you're holding now isn't cold. It's clean. It's the kind of quiet that allows truth to surface. In relationships, in work, in how life meets you halfway. You don't need to announce this change. You don't need to defend it. The people who are aligned with you will adjust naturally, and the ones who don't were never meant to stay in the same way. That doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make you hard. It simply means you've outgrown the role of being everything to everyone. Take another breath here, because as this new steadiness settles in, something outside of you is already beginning to notice. Not yet in obvious ways, not loudly, but in the way doors respond when you stop pushing and start standing. And that's where the next layer begins to reveal itself. And as that quiet steadiness begins to settle into you, something else naturally comes into focus. Not a dramatic crossroads, not two clear roads splitting apart in front of you, but a subtler moment, the kind most people don't recognize until long after they've passed it. This is where the real choice lives. And I want to talk to you about it, not as a guide, but as someone sitting beside you, noticing the shift. Because this choice isn't about what you do next. It's about where you place yourself inside the moment. For most of your life, you've learned how to be the one who keeps things smooth, the one who senses the emotional temperature before anyone else speaks, the one who softens their truth so others don't feel uncomfortable. That skill kept you safe for a long time. It kept doors open. It kept conversations calm. But lately, it started to feel expensive, not in obvious ways, more like a quiet fatigue. Like every time you choose peace at your own expense, something inside you dims just a little. And here's the choice you're standing in now. Do you continue being the version of yourself that feels pleasant to others but smaller to you? Or do you allow yourself to be respected, even if that respect comes with pauses, adjustments, or a few moments of silence? That's not an easy question for a Libra heart, because respect doesn't always arrive wrapped in warmth. Sometimes it arrives as space, as recalibration, as people realizing they can't lean the same way they used to. You're not choosing conflict. You're choosing alignment. And there's a difference. The old version of you was excellent at creating short-term safety, keeping everything balanced in the moment, avoiding tension before it had a chance to form. But the version of you emerging now is quietly interested in something more sustainable. Long-term peace, the kind that doesn't require you to keep shrinking. This choice may not even be spoken out loud yet. It might show up as a pause before answering a message, as a hesitation before agreeing to something you don't fully believe in, as a subtle no where there used to be an automatic yes. And you might wonder if that makes you colder. It doesn't. It makes you honest. Let me ask you something, softly. When you imagine your future self, the one who feels steady, grounded, and whole, do you see someone constantly adjusting themselves for others? Or do you see someone standing calmly in their truth, even when the room shifts around them? That image matters. Because this choice you're making now is not about this week alone. It's about the foundation you're quietly laying underneath your life. Temporary comfort feels good in the moment, but it doesn't last. Long-term value feels quieter at first. It asks for patience, it asks for courage, and it asks you to tolerate a little uncertainty while things realign. You're not abandoning who you've been. You're refining it. And as this choice settles into your body, as it becomes less of a decision and more of a way of standing, something else begins to respond. Not immediately, not loudly, but in the subtle ways the world always does when someone finally stops leaning out of themselves. Take a breath here, because the moment you choose where you stand, you start to notice how everything around you begins to adjust to meet you there. And that shift is already quietly unfolding. And right there, after you choose where you stand, comes the most delicate part of the journey, the waiting. Not the patient kind that feels hopeful, the quieter kind, the one where nothing answers back right away. I want to sit with you here for a moment, Libra, because this is where many people turn around. You make a choice, you stop bending, you hold your ground gently but clearly, and then nothing happens. No message, no immediate response, no visible shift to reassure you that you did the right thing. This is the space that tests people, not because it's loud, but because it's empty. Your mind may start filling in the silence, wondering if you were too firm, too slow, too distant. That old instinct might whisper, maybe I should explain myself. Maybe I should soften it. Maybe I should take a step back. But here's what I notice about you right now. You're not rushing to undo what you chose. You're not chasing clarity from outside yourself. You're letting the quiet exist. And that takes strength most people never talk about. As your friend, I want you to hear this clearly. Silence after a choice doesn't mean failure. It often means the world is adjusting. When you change your position, things don't realign instantly. They pause. They recalibrate. And that pause can feel dangerous because it asks you to trust without proof. Libra, you're used to reading reactions. You're sensitive to shifts in tone and energy. You can feel when something is unresolved. But this time, you're not rushing in to fix it. You're allowing space to do its work. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you grounded. There is a difference between being misunderstood and being unwilling to over-explain yourself. Right now, you're choosing the second. You're not withdrawing your words. You're not defending your boundary. You're not asking to be seen correctly. You're letting your consistency speak. And that can feel uncomfortable, especially when you care deeply. So let me ask you something, softly. What if this pause isn't rejection, but recognition catching up? What if the delay isn't punishment, but a moment where others are realizing they can't approach you the same way anymore. That kind of realization takes time. The truth is, immediate answers often belong to old patterns. Quick responses come when nothing has really changed. But when something shifts at a deeper level, there is often a lag, a silence, a moment where the system resets. And you're inside that moment now. You're choosing not to fill the space with anxiety. You're choosing not to chase reassurance. You're choosing to let your choice breathe. That's not passive. That's powerful. It shows a new relationship with yourself, one that doesn't collapse under uncertainty. You're learning that clarity doesn't always arrive as noise. Sometimes it arrives as calm endurance. And I know this part can feel lonely, like you're standing still while the world hesitates. But you're not stuck. You're anchored. Take a breath here, because this waiting isn't empty. It's quietly preparing the ground. And as we stay with this stillness just a little longer, you'll start to notice how something outside of you begins to respond differently. Not because you demanded it, but because you didn't move. And that's where the next shift begins to take shape. And as that stillness holds, something subtle begins to respond. Not all at once, not with noise, but in the way reality shifts when it recognizes consistency. I want to talk to you about this part carefully, Libra, because this is where people often misunderstand what a real opportunity looks like. It doesn't arrive through pressure. It doesn't demand that you perform or convince. It doesn't chase you down. It notices you. You've been standing the same way, day after day, not rigid, just clear. And clarity has a gravity of its own. When you stop over-explaining, the signal sharpens. When you stop adjusting yourself to be accepted, the message stabilizes. And slowly, almost quietly, the world begins to answer back. As your friend, I see this showing up in small but meaningful ways. A conversation that suddenly feels more serious, a tone shift, someone listening instead of interrupting, a question being asked instead of an assumption being made. This is how a real deal forms. Not through force, through alignment. You didn't demand respect, you embodied it. And now the response is coming in its own language. Measured, intentional, grounded. This might not look dramatic from the outside. There may be no announcement, no celebration yet. Just a door that opens without resistance. That matters, because doors that open naturally tend to stay open. They are built on recognition, not urgency. What's unfolding now carries weight because it mirrors the steadiness you've been practicing. It meets you where you are, not where you used to be. And that's important for a Libra soul. You're not being offered something because you waited long enough. You're being met because you became consistent enough. There's a difference. This kind of opportunity often shows up as a serious conversation, one where the energy feels different, where words are chosen more carefully, where expectations are clear, not implied. It might feel quieter than you imagined, almost underwhelming at first. But that quiet is intentional. It says this is real, this is considered, this is not being rushed. Let me ask you something, gently. If something meets you calmly, without pressure or performance, does it feel safer or does it make you uneasy? Your answer tells you a lot about how much you've grown. Because long-term alignment doesn't excite the nervous system the way chaos does. It settles it. And you've been learning to recognize that difference. You're not stepping into this because you chased it. You're stepping into it because you stayed true to how you stand. That's why it feels serious, not heavy, but grounded. And here's something worth holding close. What arrives through consistency asks you to keep being consistent. No pretending, no shrinking, no sudden overgiving, just presence. Take a breath here. Because as this exchange begins to take shape, as the offer becomes clearer without being forced, you may notice another shift inside yourself. A quiet realization that you no longer need to prove anything for this to continue. And that realization is what gently carries us into the next layer of this story, where the true turning point reveals itself not in what's offered, but in how you receive it. And as that offer settles into the space between you and the world, something even quieter begins to take place. This is the part people rarely talk about, because the real turning point is not when an opportunity appears. It's not when a door opens. It's not even when someone finally takes you seriously. It's when you realize you no longer need to prove who you are for any of it to remain real. I want to stay here with you for a moment, Libra, because this shift is internal. And once it happens, it changes everything. As your friend, I can feel it. There's a different weight to you now. Not heavier, more grounded. You're no longer scanning the room, wondering how to be received. You're not adjusting your tone mid-sentence. You're not measuring your worth by how quickly others respond. That instinct to perform, to justify, to earn your place has softened. And in its place, there's a calm willingness to let things fall away if they require you to shrink. This is the moment. Not dramatic, not loud, but unmistakable. You're no longer afraid of losing something by saying no, not because you don't care, but because you finally trust yourself to survive without what was never aligned. That's a profound shift for a Libra soul. You've always known how to hold others, to balance energy, to create fairness. But now you're learning how to hold yourself without apology. And something interesting happens when you do. Relationships start reorganizing themselves. Some deepen, some quiet down. Some reveal their true shape. Not because you forced change, but because you stopped compensating for imbalance. The same thing happens in your work, in how you give your time, in how you value your energy. You don't chase validation anymore. You don't overgive to feel secure. You don't stay silent to keep access. You choose presence over performance. And that choice quietly rearranges the entire structure around you. Let me ask you something, gently. What if the fear of losing was never about the thing itself, but about who you thought you had to be to keep it? Sit with that. Because the turning point you're standing in now is built on a simple but powerful truth. You are allowed to be chosen without auditioning. You are allowed to be respected without convincing. And you are allowed to let things walk away if they only stay when you bend. This doesn't make you rigid. It makes you real. And real energy has a way of setting things straight. You may notice that people approach you differently now, more carefully, more honestly, with clearer intentions. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy changed the rules. Take a breath here. Because as this new orientation settles in, as your life begins to arrange itself around who you truly are, something else begins to emerge. A lighter way of moving forward. A sense of relief. A quiet confidence that doesn't need witnesses. And from this place, from this inner alignment, the next phase doesn't rush in. It arrives gently, almost like an invitation to explore what becomes possible when you stop proving and start receiving. And that is where the story continues. And as that inner alignment settles, something unexpected begins to happen. Not outside first, inside. You move through the week and realize there is no explosion, no dramatic reveal, no moment where everything announces itself. Instead, there is a quiet difference in how you wake up, how you breathe, how your shoulders rest when you are alone. As your friend, this is what stands out to me most. You are lighter. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to hold. You notice it in small moments. A conversation that no longer tightens your chest. A decision you make without rehearsing 10 versions of it first. A pause where doubt used to rush in. Nothing flashy happened. And yet everything feels different. You are not scanning for approval the way you used to. You are not second-guessing your tone after you speak. You are not replaying old scenarios in your mind, wondering what you should have done differently. There is more space now. And space changes people. For a Libra heart that has spent so long weighing every angle, this can feel unfamiliar, almost suspicious. You might catch yourself thinking, "Why does this feel so calm? Did I miss something?" But calm does not mean nothing is happening. It often means things are finally happening in the right order. The absence of tension is not emptiness. It is alignment. As you move through your days, you may notice that you are less reactive, less defensive, more present. Not because you have answers, but because you trust yourself to meet whatever comes next. That is a quiet kind of confidence, one that does not need proof, one that does not demand attention. And here is something worth holding gently. When you stop fighting for balance, balance finds you. You did not force this ease. You allowed it. You stopped arguing with your intuition. You stopped negotiating your needs down to something smaller. You stopped assuming peace had to be earned. And so the week unfolds differently. You might still have responsibilities, still have choices ahead, still have moments of uncertainty, but there is less weight in them now. Let me ask you something softly. If things are not loud, not urgent, not dramatic, can you let them be good anyway? That question matters more than it seems, because many people confuse intensity with truth. They think if it does not shake them, it must not matter. But what you are stepping into now is not meant to shake you. It is meant to support you. You are learning that stability can feel gentle, that clarity can arrive quietly, that progress does not always announce itself. And in this gentler rhythm, something important becomes possible. You begin to hear yourself again. Your thoughts are clearer. Your instincts are calmer. Your inner voice is not competing with fear. This is not the end of the story. It is the moment where the noise fades enough for the next layer to be heard. Stay with this ease for a breath longer. Because as you allow things to unfold without pressure, another realization is already forming underneath. One that will ask you not what you want to receive, but how ready you are to live from this lighter place. And that is where the story continues to open. And as that gentler rhythm continues to hold you, this is where I want to speak to you most honestly. Not as someone who knows more, not as someone above you, just as a friend who has watched you walk through this quietly, step by step. You don't need a big ending here. You don't need fireworks or declarations. What you've moved through doesn't ask for spectacle. It asks for recognition. You've been doing something many people never slow down enough to do. You've been listening to yourself without rushing to fix what you hear. You've been allowing your life to rearrange itself without forcing it back into old shapes. That matters. And I want to say this clearly, without exaggeration. The direction you're facing now makes sense for who you are today. Not who you were, not who you were trying to be for others, but who you actually are. Standing here, breathing, choosing with more care. There is nothing dramatic about this kind of growth. It's not loud, it doesn't announce itself. But it's real. You didn't arrive here by accident. You arrived here by paying attention, by noticing when something no longer fit, by letting yourself change without needing permission. That is not small work. And whatever is forming around you now, whatever conversations, opportunities, or shifts are taking shape, they are responding to that version of you. Not a performance, not a compromise, just your presence. I won't tell you what will happen next. And I don't need to, because the value of this moment is not in prediction, it's in grounding. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not missing something everyone else understands. You are exactly where someone becomes more honest with their own life. Let me ask you something, softly, before we close this space. If you trusted this version of yourself just a little more, what would you stop questioning right now? You don't need to answer perfectly. Just notice what comes up. That awareness is enough. And if you're listening to this and feeling quietly seen, if something here mirrored what you've been carrying alone, I want you to know this. You are not the only one moving through this kind of shift. You are not strange for feeling both lighter and more serious at the same time. If it feels right, leave a comment, even a few words, not for validation, just to remind yourself that this path is shared. We don't always need answers from each other. Sometimes we just need to know we're not imagining it. As we take a breath together and let this moment settle, there's no rush to move forward. Just stay open, stay honest, stay with the version of yourself you've been becoming. Because this story isn't closing, it's simply becoming quieter, clearer, and more true. And when you're ready, the next step will meet you there. And before we part ways tonight, I want to leave you with something gentle to hold. Not a promise, not an answer, just a moment. If you look back over this week, you might notice something small. Not a big win, not a dramatic shift, just a quiet difference in how you carry yourself. That matters more than you think. Because here's an insight we haven't named yet. Most turning points don't change your life first. They change how you meet your life. And Libra, that's what's happening now. So let me ask you this. When you stop trying to balance everyone else, what part of yourself finally gets to breathe? Sit with that. No fixing. No judging. Just notice. Tonight, or sometime in the next few days, try a simple inner practice. When something asks for your yes, pause. When something pulls at your energy, pause again and ask yourself quietly, does this honor who I am becoming or who I used to be? You don't need to act on the answer right away. Silence is also a choice, and sometimes it's the wisest one. As your friend, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not missing the moment. You are standing right where alignment begins. If something in this message touched you, leave a comment. Not to explain your story, just to mark this moment for yourself. And if you want to keep walking this path with us, subscribe, stay close. This space is built for Libra hearts who are learning to trust themselves again. The journey doesn't end here. It softens. It deepens. And the next message is already forming. Until then, be gentle with your choices, patient with your timing, and brave enough to trust your own balance. We'll meet again, Libra.